Check, check, check. What's going on, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to It Came from the Web, a live show that is a companion podcast to Don't Turn Around. It Came from the Web is my search for the internet's spookiest and sometimes overlooked stories on the internet. As I always say, a skeptical mind is so important when you're exploring the paranormal, but the goal of this show is to encourage that sense of magic. This is a show for believers that want to experience that magic that makes its way out there in everyday life. And this is about everyday life and everyday people and the things that we experience and share to the internet. And much in that sense, I like to share my own contributions as well. Thank you so much to all the Don't Turn Around community for subscribing, for following, for sharing these shows, getting the word out there. The community is really growing every single day, and that would not be possible without your support. Thanks to the Patreon pledges. I'm so happy to have you help me keep the lights on and keep the servers up and running. Patreon really is a critical way to support this show. If you have a few dollars to share and like extra content, swing by patreon.com/Phil Rossi to follow me there. Starting this fall, there will be new Patreon content, including but not limited to Don't Turn Around extras, short fiction, long form novels, music, and so much more. So here we are, a tiny bit late, but I've had a lot of life going on, a lot of good stuff going on, but it has really filled my bandwidth. But I am happy to be here today to share some of these stories with all of you. As I mentioned, I like to contribute to the spooky stuff that is out there on the internet, not only through Old Spirits Investigations. Swing by Old Spirits Investigations on YouTube to check out our latest video from the Rocking Cradle House, but also sharing some of my own clips on this show. I realized as I was contemplating, what do I want to share this week from my own library of clips? And it got me to thinking that I really haven't shared anything from Gettysburg yet, at least not that I can remember. So I shot T. Morris a note and asked him for a couple of my favorite EVPs, and he was only happy to oblige. He's a good partner in crime. He is very busy editing our content, but he took a few minutes to share with me a couple of my favorite clips. So that's where we're going to start this week. The first clip is taken from, I believe, Cemetery Ridge. Yes, it was Cemetery Ridge. This was when T and Pip were out on their own doing some exploration. What is noteworthy about this clip, not just that they were all alone on the ridge, it was toward the end of the day, but it is the EVP that was instrumental in turning Pip into a true believer. And I like to think it was this moment that led to her increasing involvement in Old Spirits. And just like Tina, Pip is such a valuable team member. We're so happy to have her helping out with research and just joining us on investigations. I don't know what investigations would be like without either Pip or Tina sharing their skills with the group. So let's go ahead and let's get into this first clip. So I'm going to be sharing via Dropbox. So we're going to see how this goes. I haven't shared anything via Dropbox directly before, but I did want to come up with the most easy way for me to share. All right. So let's listen to this first clip. As I mentioned, was captured on Cemetery Ridge. If you can't hear, well, all of you folks that are enjoying this show live, you can drop a note in the chat saying that I cannot hear anything. The chat is up and running, and I've got two different chat screens going on here, one for Instagram, one for YouTube and Twitch. So let's give this a listen. Again, this was recorded on Cemetery Ridge.
So we're about to leave. If you want to say anything, now would be a good time. If you are here, give us a sign. Speak with us, please.
Anyone from the Army of the Potomac?
That's Pip.
Who's here?
Wow. Just take that in for a second. I'm going to play it again, but every time I hear this one, I have to sit back and take a moment, because this was one of our clearest EVPs that we have ever caught. It was so astounding for Pip. It kept her awake for quite a few nights, and you can understand why. It was just the two of them. There were no kids nearby. There was no one else in that area other than them. And they got a very clear, I'm here. So let's give that another listen. Back it on up. In fact, we'll start it just a touch later.
If you are here, give us a sign. Speak with us, please.
Anyone from the Army of the Potomac? Who's here?
Wild. I got to back it up. We got to listen to it one more time.
Army of the Potomac. Who's here?
Wow. Just wow. What do you all think? Do you think that T and Pip caught a voice of a spirit, of a young boy, maybe someone that was in the drum corps at Cemetery Ridge? I would love to hear your thoughts. The great way of doing this live is you can share your thoughts in the various chat windows, or you can share your thoughts in a comment on the YouTube video. Comments are great ways of interacting with me. I love to hear from the community. So don't hesitate to swing by the Phil Rossi Media YouTube. You can just type in Phil Rossi Media into the search window and leave a comment on this video. While you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and enable notifications so you know whenever new content is dropping. All right, who is ready for another EVP? And I feel like the Dropbox sharing is actually working pretty well. So I'm happy about this. Okay, so this EVP was captured on multiple recording devices. I'm only sharing the clip from one of the devices. We went to Devil's Den several years ago in the middle of the winter. I believe it was February of, I want to say 2022 or 2023. We call winter season paranormal investigator season because there's not a lot of tourists out. And this was actually one of the coldest days of the year. And we were bundled up to the nines, and we were out on these battlefields all by ourselves. And as it seemed, we were all by ourselves. As you'll hear from this clip, maybe we weren't by ourselves. Okay. Jumping right in.
Was it hot?
Good thing we got those boots.
Were you scared?
That one's
Just
a
long
quiet.
grass here. When you
I'm gonna pause it right there. Let's back that up. Play that again.
when you
So you very clearly hear her voice saying, at least in my opinion, you're welcome to share other opinions, but it very clearly sounds like a voice saying it was a long day. And if you think about the Battle of Gettysburg, it was July, it was swelteringly hot, it was a hot summer, and these soldiers are dressed in these heavy wool uniforms, baking in the heat. And for sure, I don't think it's a stretch to say that it was a long day. The voice is so matter of fact, and there's even a bit of a draw coming through. And that's how we rate our EVPs at Old Spirits. It's one, how clear is it? And then does emotion convey? And then even if you get something that sounds like a bit of an accent, that's a real home run. So let's give that another listen.
when you
One more time.
when you
It was a long day. You know, I've brought it up here before, and I'll bring it up again. Moments like this, where we capture an EVP that is so clear, that conveys a very poignant message. It makes you feel connected to the location. It makes you feel connected to the people that were there, and especially to these young soldiers that were out there just suffering in the heat, in the stench, the smoke, the screams of their fallen comrades. And that's so important as a paranormal investigator, to feel connected to the history of a location. And it's always astounding when we capture evidence that just heightens that connection. It's a beautiful thing. It's always exciting to capture an EVP, to capture a voice that you didn't hear at the time. But when that voice is really humanizing the investigation, is humanizing these possible ghosts, it is such a magical thing. And that's the magic of investigating that I often talk about, and that gets me always excited, gets me always going out there time and again for the hope that we may capture something. And you know what? You don't always capture something when you go out investigating, but the times when you do makes all the other times when you don't worth it. And I mean, the thing is too, when you go out and you're already connected to the history of the place. So if you don't capture anything, that's okay too. So those are my contributions to the spookiness out there on the internet. But why don't we get into our first bit of spookiness from the internet. All right, this is coming from Reddit. I'm going to go ahead and share it. This is a Reddit post. This was shared from Dark Shadow Reddits on the R Paranormal subreddit. My girlfriend recently moved into her house with a friend of hers. One morning when they were at work, me and my friend were talking about how creepy the basement is, which contains things left behind by the previous tenants. and her parents as they lived there right before her. There's a weird feeling of being watched, and we decided, as a joke, to put our ear up to the basement door to see if we could hear anything. And what we heard were footsteps sounding like they were at the bottom of the stairs. Because it's not the best area, we opened the door to make sure there wasn't an unwelcome guest living in the basement. I'm going to pause right there, and I want to just say that the paranormal, it can be kind of scary, but it's the living that are extremely scary. And so if you're going out into an abandoned place and you don't have permission to be there, it's not a place that is open for investigation, you have to be careful. You have to keep your senses about you, because sometimes the things you are hearing may be a squatter or someone else that shouldn't be there. So you always want to be extra careful when you are exploring out there. Okay, let's jump back in. Okay. We opened the door to make sure there wasn't an unwelcome guest living in the basement, as the house sat empty for a week or two. Other than what's in the basement, no one was there. Fast forward about an hour, and we're talking about it in the living room. Basement is directly below the living room, and the bottom of the stairs just about line up with where we were sitting. And I stand up to go grab my phone charger. I immediately sit back down because I felt something smack the floor under me from down in the basement, followed by a knock on the basement door. Holy moly. We decide to give it about 20 minutes before we search the basement. Probably they were trying to decide if they actually wanted to go down and look in the basement. With no sign of anyone being down there uninvited, windows covered in cobwebs, so we know no one had gone through them. There was, however, a cup that wasn't there before, which had something molded in the bottom, quarter inch of it. He went to the corner where some of said leftover items from previous tenants were and found a black hat with a hand-painted pentagram on it. We decided we were going to leave it be and investigate some other time. Note to audience, pentagram doesn't always denote evil. Popular culture has tended to shed that light on it. Doesn't always necessarily mean evil. Her friend ended up moving out about 4 days ago. The light switch at the top of the stairs to the basement had started turning itself on in the middle of the night. The other morning, I heard my dad's voice call me from the kitchen. He has never been to that house, and the kitchen connects directly to where the basement door is. The latest update I've gotten was from last night, where my girlfriend was getting ready for bed and tried to turn off the hallway light with the light switch by her bedroom. It wouldn't shut off the light, so she went to the other end of the hallway to turn it off. When she got to the other switch, her cat hissed at the switch by her room and took off running away from it, and the light switch flipped on its own. If anyone knows any ways to repel something like this, please let me know, because I would rather not have a ghost in her house. There's a lot to unpack here. I mean, by the virtue of any activity happening in a location doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad or evil or malicious. Most cases, like what I'm reading here, it does sound like whatever's in the property might be trying to get their attention. But in the same breath, consider that I would say the majority of people out there probably aren't comfortable with having a ghost as a roommate. So I understand them wanting to ask their tenant to depart. But I do love the banging and knocking from the basement. It does create a very nice spooky mood. So this is one of my more recent favorite finds. I think it is the good makings of a ghost story for sure. Okay, where are we going next? Okay, this next clip was a little curious to me. I want to see what you all think of it. So let me go ahead. I'm going to Okay, where is it? I think it's this one. Nope. Sometimes it is hard to find what I'm looking for on here, and I got to dig a little bit. I'll laugh if it's the first one in the list. Yep, it's the first one on the list. Okay, this I stumbled across on Instagram. So why don't I go ahead? I'm going to zoom in. So this is a guy, he's grinning because he must be on vacation. He's hanging out in his hotel room, and some strange things start happening. So he's just standing here totally unassuming. Now, whatever was going on, he was trying to capture on his phone. And there is no audio, I think, with this clip. And if it might be just the spooky Instagram music. No, it's loud, so we don't need to play it. I gotta say, he's pointing to the phone or the TV. Okay, says the phone fell off its cradle. So he decided to record it. Okay, so that sets the mood. They talk a little bit about shadows, but I can't really make out what they're looking at as far as a shadow is concerned. I mean, they're saying there's a shadow under here and they have no idea how the light would fall like that. But I mean, you can kind of see a line here coming from the light, coming to the shadow. So I'm not thinking there's much to that, but just give it a second. Just give it a second. I don't know what they're watching on TV either. Looks very strange. Okay. He must hear something. He turns around pretty rapidly. Nope, there's nothing beside him. Okay, we're back to the front of the room. Now let's look closely. Let's look closely together. And apparently this happened a couple times before he decided to film it. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, so it just seems to leap right off. I don't see any obvious wires, and he comes in closer to look at it, and it just looks like a regular phone. It's not plugged in. Maybe that's what the ghost is trying to tell him. Your phone's not plugged in. Let's give it another watch. Let's give it another watch. Okay. And we'll zoom on in. I don't think I can. Yeah, I can't fast forward. Again, I'm trying to look and see if there's any strings or anything attached to the phone. And granted, this is not the best quality video, but I can't see anything attached to the phone. So now we're going to check out the shadow. And if I'm looking in the wrong place for the shadow, by all means, let me know. I think they're referring to the shadow around the garbage can. Or maybe it's hard to say, but I don't really see anything remarkable about that shadow. Maybe he's just saying the phone landed there. All right, here we go. We're getting close. There's another selfie. Hey, guy. Whoa, now we're spinning. Nothing behind him. Not the nicest hotel room. Not trying to judge. But I would probably not want to sleep in that bed for fear of bed bugs. Boom, there it goes. It just kind of flops off. And if you look at it one last time, we're not going to play the whole thing. It looks like it's resting on there pretty good. Yeah, it's sitting right in the cradle. It's sitting right in the cradle. So I don't know what that could mean, what that could be. It's pretty crazy, though. If you were staying in a hotel room and you had a phone flip off the cradle, would you ask for a different room? I can see a lot of reasons in this room why I might ask for a different room or maybe a different hotel entirely. But to each their own. To each their own. You know, I remember in terms of hotels and hotel hauntings, you think about hotels, there's such liminal spaces, people coming in and out, people traveling, and all that makes for what I think is a ripe scenario for hauntings. And I don't think it necessarily has to be an old hotel either. About a year ago, I was staying in a hotel in Texas, and my room just had a very spooky vibe. And during that night, there were some things that fell off the desk, and I just had a feeling of not being alone. And this, granted, this was not a very old hotel. I think it had been built in the late 70s, and they had recently done some renovations, so maybe that stirred something up. But I do remember thinking at the time that, isn't this interesting that I'm staying in this nice hotel room and I'm hearing all these unexplained noises. So it doesn't necessarily have to be like the accommodations that this guy was staying in where his phone jumped off. It could be in any hotel room. So maybe next time you're staying in a hotel, try to keep your senses open and see if you experience anything. And if you do experience anything, you can let me know. You can shoot me an email at dtapodcastinfo@gmail.com, direct message at Don't Turn Around Podcast on Instagram. I love getting spooky stories. So the more spooky stories I got coming in, the happier that I will be. All right. We got one more ghost clip, and I saved what I like to think is the best for last. This clip features one of my favorite investigators, and I think one of our favorite investigators at Old Spirits as well. This is Mr. Nick Groff, who is formerly of Ghost Adventures, and then he went on to do some of his own shows, which I think are some of the best paranormal programming out there. You can catch him on YouTube now. He posts a lot of content on YouTube. So highly recommend, if you have not checked out Nick Groff, swing by YouTube, type in Nick Groff into your search. And with that said, let's get into that clip. Okay, this time I knew it was going to pull up the first one. All right, we're going to zoom in here. There he is, Mr. Nick Groff. And let's let this play. Okay. So something definitely spooks him. Something comes into the frame. Let's see if we can get some audio with this. I don't know how loud it's going to be.
I'm going to leave the ghost to the pros.
Here's what happened. It was late into the evening when Justin and I were startled by a loud crashing sound that occurred in the adjacent room. Upon reviewing the footage, we discovered some kind of translucent hand that's reaching out, attempting to grab me. When I zoomed in on the anomaly, I noticed the spectral hand had 3 long fingers, which would twist and move in an inhuman way. I took the raw footage to a professional video analysis to get a second opinion and make sure no camera or environmental anomalies were responsible. After dissecting the footage, the video analysis had no explanation as to what the hand is and why it appeared. The fact.
What the hell? That was my first thought on seeing this. I didn't see this on his channel, so I'm going to have to go back and look for that investigation. But that caught me by surprise. And at first, when I started playing the video, I'm like, okay, this is a long video with not much to it. But then I saw that. To me, it almost looks like a tentacle or something really weird. Let's watch a little bit more of that. Let's take a little bit more of that in. And we'll do it without the sound. I mean, that is just unbelievable. And here you can kind of see them pointing out the different elements. Boom, there it is. There it goes. Boom. Now, I don't know if he saw that at the time, but let's go ahead. I'm going to reload that so we can look at it again. Okay. So, and he must have seen it at the time. Oh my God. Wow. Yeah, he definitely saw it at the time, because why else would he react like that? And one more time, slow motion. Here we go. There it is. Oh man. It's something about that too. Something about that. It's just very, very, very creepy looking. Whatever the heck it is. Definitely gave me the spooks. And I'll say this too. When you see something on an investigation, even if it's just out of the corner of your eye, you're it's still playing. That's why I'm laughing, because I'm laughing at his reaction. Not because I think it's funny, but just because I can hard relate. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Oh, I lost it. You're not expecting to see something. You're hoping to see something when you're on an investigation. You're hoping to hit gold. You're hoping to get that full body apparition, but it happens so infrequently. I mean, this is a pretty rare occurrence. So when you're on vacation and you see something, you're gonna react. I don't care if you're a seasoned investigator like Nick Groff, or if you're a new investigator, or anywhere in between. You are gonna have a very visceral reaction. I remember when we were investigating Trinity Episcopal Church in Lynchburg, Virginia, and we had moved into the sanctuary. We got our gear set up, and I'm kind of looking toward the front of the sanctuary, thinking of, all right, how are we going to start this investigation? Doing an equipment check, mentally, that I've set everything up. And I saw a face down low, like peek out from around where the lectern was. And I had to take a moment because that fully caught me off guard. Definitely got my heart racing. I was undeterred for the investigation, but when you see something that you aren't expecting to see, that is defying the very reality of the space, it's gonna give you pause. At least I hope it would. I don't know what kind of emotionalist people are out there watching right now. I am joking, but I would love to hear it if you have stories of experiencing something visually on an investigation that gave you a similar moment of just this very human reaction. But man, talk about that magic. All right. It wouldn't be It Came From the Web episode if we didn't talk a little bit about Bigfoot. So I'm going to go ahead, and I think this is the clip. Yep. Yes, it is. Hang on. Okay. This is night vision camera footage of everyone's favorite cryptid. I'm not sure where this was captured. This was posted a while back. Did not seem to get any views from what I saw. And those are some of the clips that I like sharing here too, are the clips that maybe people haven't seen. And that being said, let's check in on our favorite cryptid. Okay. You can already see him in the footage, but let's go ahead. Or her, sorry. It could be a female Bigfoot. You got some eye shine happening. Eye shine is when the reflective membrane in the eye of many animal species reflect the light. And it's called eye shine. Eye shine is not to be confused with glowing eyes. Glowing eyes are eyes that are projecting their own light. I don't know if it's snowing or raining or what, but that is crazy. It looks like a primate, and it's moving like a primate. Could also be a very well person in a suit. I think this is where suspension of disbelief really comes in handy. That's pretty cool, though. I gotta say, I do like this. I like how it's kind of looking around, maybe trying to slink out of view. So I don't know. Is this Bigfoot? Are we looking at Bigfoot? Maybe. Maybe not. It's one of the more clear in air quotes videos that I've watched. No, it's hard to get a sense of the size of this, whatever's moving. I don't know if that's a hill that it's behind or what. It is creepy, though. It has a very good creepy factor with the grainy night vision camera, the way it's moving. I mean, it could also be someone in a vest with a ski mask on. That's also possible. Though the one thing I will say is that eye shine is not something that humans are capable of. We can do some pretty amazing things. Eye shine isn't one of them. I think for every Bigfoot video I see out there that I find to be somewhat compelling, I see dozens of others that are just absolutely hilarious. And from time to time, I do share the hoax videos on here, the ones that are very clearly a hoax. So maybe next time we'll share some of the more comical Bigfoot videos, and not as a disrespect to Bigfoot whatsoever. All right. Okay, this is just an image that a friend shared on Facebook this week, and this creeped me out. This is a very real I guess, a fungus or something growing on a rabbit. This is the stuff of horror movies. I mean, look at that. I feel really bad for the rabbit, I gotta be honest. But also, man, it just looks like something out of The Last of Us. It says breaking news: Colorado officials just sent a warning of do not touch to residents after rabbits were spotted invading parts of the U.S. with weird tentacles sprouting from their heads due to a virus. Do not touch. If you see one of these rabbits, do not, please, for all that is holy, do not touch. But man, is that not scary? That is some nightmare fuel right there. That is, like I said, right out of The Last of Us. I haven't had a chance to do more research on this virus, but I am very curious what kind of virus results in tentacles sprouting from a creature's neck. Hopefully it is only an interspecies thing. I don't know. I would not like to think of this propagating to other species. So it's something for me to keep my eye on. But boy, that is nasty and scary in equal measures. Whew. All right, let's take a break from creepy, gross viruses, and let's see. All right, it's time for UFOs. Before we get into the UFO things, there is a lot of talk about let's see, hang on, Comet 3, I think it's 3I Atlas. Comet 3I Atlas is this, what is it, supposed to be a very large interstellar object that is moving at a high rate of velocity, the fastest a comet has been clocked at in history, as far as I'm aware, into our solar system. I mean, it's already in the solar system from what I understand. And in 116 days, it's going to pass pretty close to Earth. There's a lot of speculation out there that this might be a giant alien mothership on a direct course to Earth for contact and possibly for waging a very short-lived interstellar war upon the human race. The fervor around this came from a thought paper that was composed by a renowned astrophysicist, Dr. Avi Loeb. I think he's at Harvard, but don't quote me on that. And the internet essentially took this thought paper, which was nothing more than speculation on what if this is an alien craft, and the internet did its thing. And you will see, as I'm sure you have already seen, all these Instagram posts, Facebook posts, Reddit posts about this alien craft coming to wipe out the human race. In the meantime, NASA is doing their good science, and it is showing all the telltale signs of actually being a comet. So don't be alarmed. It is a comet. We're all going to be safe. Don't quote me on that, because there's, I guess, still a slim chance that maybe it's not a comet. But again, it's giving all the hallmarks of a comet, all the outgassing that a comet exhibits as it approaches the sun. That's what we're seeing from 3I Atlas. So safe to say we're safe. What I'm hoping is that we get a pretty awesome night sky display from this thing. Haven't heard much about that, but I haven't dug in too deeply as far as what to expect when this comet gets closer. But as I get updates, I'll share updates here on It Came From the Web. And that segues really nicely into our next video clip, which is extraterrestrial in nature. Or is it? So let's see. Okay, got it right away. This is an Instagram short. Now, what we're going to want to take a look at here.
The videotape that Guardian had sent.
All right, we'll pause this because this one does have audio. So right here we have flares that are lit for some reason. And then over here on this side of the screen, we've got some white light that is apparently being projected down beneath an object. So let's just let this roll.
Starts off with flares or some sort of red light, 4 of them, burning, nighttime picture. So it's totally black background with these 4 flares or red lights. And beside it, stationary, is a large, I'll say a large object. The only way you know there's anything there is the fact that it's illuminated from underneath, and it's a very, very bright, intense light. And on top of this structure, because it's apparent something was there, was a rotating or a flashing beam.
Okay. Let's talk about this. It's a very, very dark video. Very dark video. But I do like the side by side shot of the flares, and we can jump back to that. The flares, or maybe they're fires. Maybe this thing had been here, and then whatever intense energy that is propelling it lit the terrain on fire. It's hard to make out any details, and so it's one of the more difficult videos to get behind, but I thought it was pretty interesting. I do question, why would there be these random 4 flares just burning away on the terrain so close to this object? Now, if you do notice, though, the area that is illuminated and burning is roughly the same size of this so-called craft. Now, let's give it a play. We'll watch it again for a minute here.
Tape that Guardian had sent starts off with flares or some sort of red light, 4 of them, burning, nighttime picture. So it's totally black background with these 4 flares or red lights. And beside it, stationary, is a large, I'll say a large object. The only way you know there's anything there is the fact that it's illuminated from underneath, and it's a very, very bright, intense light. And on top of this structure, because it's apparent something was there, was a rotating or a flashing beacon.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Starts off.
I mean, I default to my Scully, or excuse me, boy. I'm thinking of Team Morris here. I default to my Mulderism, where I want to believe, but at the same time, you're not getting too much detail. You're not getting too much detail out of it. All right, let's see. We are actually rapidly running out of time here. And so we're going to jump to one of the often requested segments of It Came From the Web, which is Haunted Object Review, where we spend a little time on eBay and seeing what spooky items are for sale. So let's go ahead, and I'm noticing there's some really weird ads. That's spooky. So just ignore the ads, please. Let's oh boy. Okay, let's see. The first one that I want to share here is by request of one of our Instagram viewers, GPagan65, who is out of Boston, requested that we talk a little bit about Dybbuk box and see if there are any Dybbuk boxes for sales on eBay. If you're not familiar with the concept of a Dybbuk box, it is a box that is essentially said to contain a distilled and trapped demonic entity. Now, I think Dybbuk is, I believe, translates to, I think it's just ghost, but let's look that up really quick because I don't remember. It's been a little while. Here we go. On Jewish folklore, Dybbuk is a malevolent wandering spirit that enters and possesses the body of a living person until exorcised. You know, I gotta say, I like that. I like that phrasing. I like that it's phrased as a malevolent spirit, not necessarily a demon. Because again, what are demons? right? What are demons? In popular culture, demons are these beasts from hell. Maybe they are. Maybe they're nature spirits, or maybe they're angry spirits. But Dybbuk box is said to be a vessel in which a demon is trapped. The Dybbuk box was popularized in the early 2000s by a movie called, I think it was just called Dybbuk. And actually, from what I recall, it was a pretty good horror film. I'm going to have to watch it again. But this movie so effectively created this mythos of the Dybbuk box that it started to really take on its own life and really became a thing, kind of similar to what we saw with, just as one other example, with Slenderman. So there was a huge craze where you were seeing these Dybbuk boxes always on the pages of people's websites covering eBay. And I do, from a folklore and a kind of a mysterious vibe, I do think it is a very cool concept. So it's a wooden box typically that is sealed in wax from a ceremony that is used to trap the demon in the box. So let's go ahead and ignore all these weird ads. And let's see. I thought I'd clicked into this. But, oh, you know what? Okay, see original listing, because the listing had ended. That's why. Okay, so someone had purchased this thing. We've got some images of this Dybbuk box. Pretty cool. Covered in all black wax. They've got their K2 on it, and they're picking up some K2 readings. K2, if you're not familiar, measures electromagnetic fluctuations. And this is picking up sort of a midline, although we got another picture here, and it's up in the orange, which is about 10 milligauss. That's actually pretty good. And in this last one, they have a millimeter, which is kind of hard to read. Let's check out the description. All right. Item specifics used. An item that has been previously used. So it's been used to capture a demon. We know that it's been used. All right. Item description from the seller. Haunted 3.5-inch Dybbuk box. Angry, evil, demonic? ? Because of the overwhelming interest of people to bid on vessels with no intent on completing transactions, unless we hear from you within 1 day of intent, we'll offer to another buyer. Okay, disclaimer. We'll skip that. We stopped opening them years ago. Everyone knows entities attach themselves to inanimate objects. Their energy is evident without breaking the seal, and in doing that can open us up to the full negative energy they possess. We purchased this box in an online auction. Seller conveyed they had purchased it online from someone claiming to be part of a demonic cult. When they first tried interacting, their equipment went crazy, flashing, and they heard growling in the room. As they looked through their night vision camera, saw a large, dark figure with talon-like fingers reaching in their direction. They took it outside and shut everything off. They listed it, and during that time, they experienced bruising, seeing that large, dark figure, bangs in their apartment, and nightmares. Our first and only interaction with the box, as we turned our equipment on, everything started reacting. K2 to yellow and orange, and the millimeter rose to 0.6. We asked if the spirit was good entity or evil. Through the spirit box, we heard a voice say, "Death is here." As we were deciding to continue or wait for another day, our daughter felt a burning sensation on her neck, and when turning on the light, we saw what appeared to be a slice going down and forming another next to it. We removed it and never brought it back in, I'm assuming back into the house. We don't take chances. They kind of took a chance buying it, not to judge, and don't allow negative energies among us or our pets. We keep boxes in storage totes in our finished shed as to not keep the negative entities in our family home. They have remained quiet there, but cannot guarantee what interactions may occur since they have been cut off. We all know they react differently in different environments. Being transparent, I recently started to list some items on eBay to help my wife. Okay, this is, I guess, just about their account, which is not really relevant. So, what do we all think? Do we think this is a vessel containing a demon? I think it's important to consider the concept of egregores, of thought forms, of sort of the collective consciousness having the ability to potentially create this energy that we see with this particular item that they are describing. Do I think that all so-called Dybbuk boxes contain a demon or are possessed in any other way? Probably not. Do I think there might be items with this description that may embody some dark paranormal force? Yes, I think it's very possible. Do I think that a demon has been trapped in this box? I don't think so. I don't think necessarily that is the case. And again, I could be wrong. But what I like to think is that, again, this is a thought form that has been imprinted on the box, essentially by the owners of the box or by our greater collective consciousness. Think about it. I would love to hear what you think about the Dybbuk box mythos. I would love to hear what you think about this particular haunted item. It's not for sale anymore, but we'll see if we can find another one for next time. If you happen to find a Dybbuk box on eBay and are brave enough to pick one up, because I am strictly forbidden to purchase any haunted objects, if you do pick it up, I would love to chat with you. I would love to hear firsthand what you may or may not be experiencing with said item. And that, everybody, brings us to the end of today's It Came From the Web. I want to say thank you to everyone that joined the live show. We had a lot of viewers out here today, and it's been great having you all interact in the chat, say hello. It's so fantastic to have you here in real time for this. I feel like it makes me better at what I do. So thank you so much for spending the time here. I'm sure you could be out doing many other things, but you chose to spend your time here with me, and you have my endless gratitude. For those of you that are watching the video on demand, either on YouTube, on Twitch, or listening to the audio version of this on the Don't Turn Around podcast feed, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. If you're not yet subscribed to Don't Turn Around, which is the primary show of this feed, go ahead and do it. And while you're at it, it would be the best thing ever if you could spend a couple minutes leaving Don't Turn Around a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. Reviews and likes and subscriptions, all that good stuff on YouTube, on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, anywhere else. That is what really gives the show wings. That helps us get this show out to so many more ears. So if you could find the time to do that, I would be endlessly in your debt. And with all that being said, we'll catch you next time.